I am a family, geriatric, and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And we're here to discuss more today about anxiety disorders and how they affect our relationships. And I will invite George to take us through. Welcome.
Great, thank you. So yes, today our topic is anxiety. My question here is it stress or anxiety? Do you know which one? Are you able to differentiate between stress and anxiety? You know, life can be stressful. You may feel you're stressed about performance at school, traumatic events such as pandemic, like one we had about COVID, national disasters, or act of violence, or even life change. You get a new baby, somebody in the family can have a disease, and your loved ones die. So everyone feels stressed from time to time. So what is stress? Stress is the physical or mental response to an extreme cause, such as, like an example I give is having a whole lot of homework that you have to do, or having an illness. A stressor which causes this to happen repeatedly over time. Now, anxiety, on the other hand, is how your body is going to respond to stress. Now, even if there is no threat. So I want us to look quickly at the difference, or how you can be able to differentiate between stress and anxiety. Stress is generally the response to external causes, like just we mentioned, like if you have a big test coming, or if you have an argument with a friend, you feel kind of stressed. Going to the embassy, an example, when you get a visa, when you're going to apply for a visa, that is an external cause, you're gonna get stressed. It goes away when the situation is removed or resolved. And it can be, stress can be positive, it can be negative. If you're getting married, that's a positive thing. Somebody dies is a negative thing, or if you go to the embassy, you don't get your visa, is a negative thing. On the other hand, anxiety is generally the internal part of it, how you're going to react to the stress. And the stress, anxiety usually involve a persistent feeling of apprehension, of dreading that does not go away, and interferes with how you live your life. And it can be constant even if there is no imminent threat or danger to your life. Now, both stress and anxiety do have commonalities. You're going to have the excessive worry, uneasiness. There's going to be tension. Some people do have headaches or body aches and high blood pressure. Some do have loss of sleep. So now let's dive into the anxiety disorders. And I will mention what they are. There are quite a few of them, 19% of adults. Occasionally, anxiety is an expected part of life, like how we just discussed. And many people worry about things such as health, money, or family problems. You may feel anxious when faced with problems at work or home, before taking a test, before an interview, or before making an important decision. These are temporary worries, and they usually go away afterwards. But anxiety disorders involve more than temporary worry or fear. For a person to be diagnosed with anxiety disorders, the anxiety does not go away and can get worse over time. These symptoms can interfere with your daily activities of living, such as job performance, schoolwork, relationships with people who matter in your life. I'll give you examples of anxiety disorders, and I'll start with the first one, which is more common here. It's called generalized anxiety disorder, which in short form we call GAD or GAD. The other one is the social anxiety Then we have the panic disorders. We have the specific phobias that I'll mention what they are. Then we have OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. So what is generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD? This one usually involves a constant feeling of anxiety or fear. It's more than just worrying about occasional stressful event that most of us experience of our lives. GAD is an ongoing experience of frequent anxieties that may last for months or even years. And we want to mention here that it occurs almost every day for a duration of 6 months for you to be diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And I mention again, it's an excessive anxiety and worry. If you have GAD or GAD or generalized anxiety disorder, it's going to be difficult for you to control that worry. So what causes this GAD or generalized anxiety disorder? And it's a complex interaction between biology and environment. And some factors, we talk about genetics, it runs in the families. And this is the brain function, brain chemical function. Also your individual personality, the development, how you are born, how you grow up, and how you perception of how you see things or how you respond to a threat. The signs and symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder will include, and I will mention, excessive worry. You worry about everything every day. You're going to have trouble controlling these worries or feelings of nervousness. Know that they worry much more than they should. So if you worry much more than you should, that's a part of those symptoms. You're gonna feel restless, have trouble relaxing. You're gonna have hard time relaxing or concentrating. You startle easily. If somebody scares you, you're gonna startle. Have trouble sleeping or staying asleep. You're gonna feel tired. You're gonna have headaches, muscle aches, stomach aches, and you're gonna have some explained pains. Hard time swallowing. You're gonna be irritable, being on edge all the time. Sweats and frequent bathroom. We see in teenagers and in children, when we look at the anxiety, this GAD, there's that excessive worry. This is going to affect their performance in activities such as in school or sports. They worry about catastrophes like earthquakes or war. And they worry about the health of other people, like in the family members. And these kids, they just concentrate on that. Just excessive worrying about things about their family members' health. In adults, we see this. They worry about the job securities or their performance, worry about the health, their finances, and the health and well-being of their children or other family members. And even completing household chores and other responsibilities. Let's move on to the other anxiety disorder. Is called panic disorder. The panic disorder involves frequent and unexpected panic attacks. Panic attacks are sudden periods of intense discomfort, fear of sense of losing control, even when there is no clear danger that typically comes without warning. These panic attacks can occur as frequently as several times a day, or as rarely as few times a year. And typically they last between 15 minutes to about an hour. Some people say it takes 2 hours to come out of panic attacks. People who do experience these panic attacks may not develop a panic disorder. but instead those with panic disorders have repeatedly occurrence of panic attacks. Remember, panic attacks is that duration that just comes on suddenly. They often worry about when the next attack will happen, and to the point where they will avoid places and situations that they know have affected them in the past. So what causes panic disorder? As right now, it's not fully known what causes this anxiety, panic disorders, but there are factors we have to consider, such as genetics, trauma in the past, if you have a major stress in your life, and also having a disposition that is more prone to negative feelings, and also part of your brain, if there's some function changes, can also play a part. Signs and symptoms of panic disorder. So these people with panic disorders, we see mostly they have sudden and repeated panic attacks of overwhelming anxiety and fear. They have a feeling of being out of control, or fear of death or impending doom during a panic attack. They have an intense worry about when the next panic attack will happen, a fear of violence or places where panic attacks have occurred in the past. They manifest some physical symptoms during panic attacks. They will complain of having pounding or racing heart. They will sweat. Some will have chills. They will tremble and shakes. They have difficult breathing. They will feel dizzy or weakness. Their feet and hands will be numb and tingly. Some will complain of chest pain. Other people will complain of stomach pains and nausea. Our next topic here is social anxiety disorder. So this disorder, social anxiety disorder, is just more than just shyness. Think about if you're afraid of being judged by other people. Are you self-conscious in everyday social situations? Do you avoid meetings with new people due to the fear or anxiety? So if you have been feeling this way for the last 6 months, for at least 6 months, I'll say, and these feelings make it hard for you to do everyday tasks, and examples such as talking to people at work or in school or in church or where there are many people, you may have a social anxiety disorder. So the social anxiety disorder, by definition, is an overwhelming, ongoing fear of being watched, scrutinized, evaluated, or judged by other people. So such as in public speaking, meeting new people, dating someone, being on a job interview, answering questions in class, or having to talk to a cashier even in a store. People with social anxiety disorder have a fear of social situations. So think about anywhere you have social, like in open market or somewhere you go to a church or there's a big crowd. Gonna feel so overwhelmed beyond your control. And this fear is gonna get in the way of going to work, attending school, or even performance on everyday tasks. So doing everyday things such as eating, drinking in front of others, or using public restrooms may also cause anxiety to some people, or fear due to concern about being humiliated, judged, or rejected. The fear that people with social anxiety disorders have in social situations is so intense that they feel it is beyond their control. So for some people, this fear may get in their way of going to work again and attending schools and doing everything, the everyday thing, and they just isolate themselves in the house. Other people, sometimes they're able to accomplish these tasks and going out, doing things that they need to do, but experience a great deal of fear and anxiety when they do these things. And these people with the social anxiety disorders may worry about engaging social situations for weeks even before they happen. An example, if you given a task that you're going to be talking in public and you know the days are coming, is you're going to start having these social anxieties symptoms way before you even do it. And at the end of the day, sometimes you're going to end up avoiding places or even events that cause this distress. Let's move on to what causes these social anxiety disorders. And again, it is not fully known with what the specific causes of this anxiety disorder is, but it does land in a family. Like you see your parents or someone in your family has the same kind of symptoms, but no one knows why some family members will have it while others don't. But there are those developing research that shows that if you are embarrassed in the past in a social situation, there's a chance that you might avoid and have that social anxiety disorder. And the symptoms again, you're gonna have sweating, trembling, heart palpitations. You're gonna have a feeling of embarrassment, being anxious. You're going to have stomach aches. Your body is gonna be stiff. You're gonna have difficult making eye contact with people, and just being difficult, and now don't wanna be around people that you don't know. You're gonna be very conscious, self-conscious, and fearful of being judged negatively by other people. So what you will do is you're going to avoid places where these people are. The other one is the specific phobia. Specific phobia, there are about 20 of these specific phobias. And this is, it's like a strong irrational fear of something that poses real or no threat or actual danger to you. Give you an example of a specific phobia. It would be like a fear of a height or fear of flying. Those people who fear flying on airplanes. Fear of driving on a highway. People fear spiders. There are people who fear to swim. And they have these acronyms they call, like fear of driving is called amoxophobia, fear of spiders, acronophobia. Fear of being in a public place is one is called agoraphobia. There's a lot of people who don't like being public places, being on the bus. They can't even get on a bus. There's another one, very people you probably know, is called claustrophobia, people who don't like being in closed places. And then we have other phobias like being in a tunnel, separation. Some people see blood, they panic. So those are ones we classify them as social phobias. But again, what causes these phobias, specific phobias, again, it's unknown. You just have to get the factors that they have negative experiences. Like you being exposed to a spider, so you're probably gonna fear it. And there's a genetic component to it as well. And the signs and symptoms of specific phobias, it's just you want to avoid it. That's the biggest thing. A strong desire to get away immediately, and intense fear when you see something that you're being exposed to get on a plane and you don't want to do that. So you're going to have the intense fear, anxiety, and panic. Again, the symptoms, we call them somatic symptoms. You're going to have rapid heartbeat, sweating, chest tightness, trembling, shortness of breath. Be aware that the fears are irrational, but you feel powerless. You know that spider or that you're seeing or jumping on the bridge, it's power, but you have that fear, intense avoidance of the object or situation. So you're going to try to avoid as much as you can. And we see the children, they will have tantrums. They'll be clinging to their parents and they'll start crying. The other one I think worth mentioning is the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder, this is where the person can have a repeated upsetting thoughts or obsessions. These people, they do things over and over again, attempting to make the thoughts go away. The recurring thoughts that they will have are called obsessions. The repeated or repetitive actions are the ones we call compulsive. An example is washing your hands repeatedly. So you're being compelled to do that, but your thought is telling you to do that. And I'll mention some of the examples. So these symptoms are time-consuming, very time-consuming and distressing, and they are going to interfere with these people's daily life. People with OCD, the obsessive-compulsive disorder, they are aware of that their obsessions and compulsions are irrational, like they are not real and excessive, but they feel unable to control them. An example of obsessive thought, and that's the thinking, how you think, is unwanted images, impulse and thought that can cause anxiety or distress. They fear of losing or forgetting something important. They fear making mistakes. Some fear germs or fear of being hurt, and some people will not even shake your hands. And that's why they kind of repeatedly want to wash their hands. I'll give you an example of compulsive behavior, and this is the action after you have the thought. Again, they want to repeatedly wash their hands. Some will have doubting thoughts that they have locked the door or turned the stove off, and they will drive and they come back repeatedly just to make sure that the stove is off so it doesn't burn the house. So they are constantly checking things, making sure the door is locked, the stove is turned off, and it can be time consuming again, because if you're busy, you're going somewhere. And having that thinking about or say something over and over, such as counting or repeating words, there are those, like, if you ever seen some movies, you see someone before they leave the house, they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10 repeatedly for like 30 minutes before it's like a ritual. They follow strict rules and putting on clothes on the same side each day, and avoiding situations that they do try to avoid places where the situations where they have prone perceptions, such as doorknobs. It's a trigger. That was just an example. So the OCD usually begins in the late childhood or early adolescence, right about 9, 10 there, but can also start in the teen when you're a teenager, and it can go all the way to the adult years. And again, the symptoms can range from mild to disabling, like you can't even leave the house. And sometimes it gets worse over time. What causes OCD? So the research, scientists, they think is your brain circuit work different for people with OCD. So they can see when they do the imaging, they can see there's a big difference. But it tends to run in the families, and the symptoms will be seen way when the child, in a childhood and in the teenage years. But if left untreated, it can take over your life. So those are the disorders that we thought we will mention. We'll switch gears now, and I'll have Pastor Salome here talk about how these anxiety disorders that we mentioned, how do they affect our relationships? And then she'll talk about how the strategies, how do you cope with it so you can live a better life? Okay, Pastor Salome.
Thank you, George. So let's real quick look at signs of anxiety in relationships. There are a number of behaviors people might engage in when they are experiencing anxiety in relationships. So some of these things include worrying that the other person is lying, fearing that the other person likes other people better, worrying about the other person cheating, worrying that their anxiety will negatively affect the relationship, overthinking with every conversation, every phone call, every text, pushing people away fast in order to avoid rejection, Feeling you need to control how your partner spends their time and who they talk to. Feeling jealous when your partner spends time with others or wants some time alone. And finally, avoiding relationships altogether. So those are signs of anxiety in relationships. So how does anxiety affect our relationships? Remember, we said that anxiety can lead to excess worry, anger, and irritability. So constantly seeking reassurance can be stressful for both people in the relationship and contribute to arguments. So on the other hand, anxiety can also contribute to being overly controlling or becoming avoidant and detached, which makes it hard to form a meaningful connection. So the first thing that is affected in a relationship due to anxiety is communication. So anxiety can make it difficult to communicate effectively. Anxious people may be quick to anger and have trouble calming down. Therefore, communication will be affected. The other thing that is affected due to anxiety in relationship is trust and intimacy. So anxiety can dampen trust and intimacy and make it difficult to form meaningful connections. For example, people with generalized anxiety disorder are 3 times more likely to avoid intimacy with their partner. Anxiety may also bring stress in the relationship. For example, constantly seeking reassurance can be stressful and can lead to arguments. Anxiety may also cause unpredictability in relationships. Unpredictable events like panic attacks can disrupt plans and activities and make it difficult for partners to know how to support each other. Anxiety can also affect a relationship whereby you find people who are anxious become very dependent. So some people with anxiety have an intense desire for closeness to their partners or friends, depending on them constantly for support and reassurance. So the anxiety might make them nervous to be alone or to face certain situations on their own. Anxiety can also cause a person to question every decision they make, which can also result in overdependency. So along with being overly dependent, people with anxiety may find themselves prone to what? To overthinking, to planning for all worst-case scenarios, to being indecisive, feeling rejected, seeking out constant communication, and getting anxious if a partner or friend does not respond quickly. Anxiety can also cause controlling behaviors in a relationship. People who have anxiety need to control every detail of their environment in order to manage stress and find peace. So, few signs that you are engaged in controlling behavior in your relationship and daily routine to minimize your anxiety includes attempting to control the feelings or behaviors of your partners, friends, and family members, being critical or judgmental to others, inability to delegate tasks. Those kind of people also micromanage others' time and activities. They overplan, they are perfectionists, they are people pleasers, and excessively upset when things do not go as planned. Anxiety also can cause avoidance in relationships. So on the other end of the spectrum, some people avoid relationships as a way of dealing with their anxiety. They may avoid negative emotions, for example, disappointment or frustration, by not revealing their feelings, opening up, or being vulnerable. So you can see it can be difficult to open up and be vulnerable with those you are closest to because of this. So a person who avoids close relationships may be perceived as cold or emotionally unavailable or lacking empathy or even standoffish, even though they may long for closeness. One study found that people with social anxiety were less likely to receive support from their romantic partners, and that less support and more severe anxiety symptoms increased the likelihood of breaking up. Anxiety in a relationship may also cause chronic tension. People who have anxiety frequently feel tense or restless, and those around them can feel that tension. So when someone is exhibiting tension, others often do not know how to respond to it and might feel they need to walk on eggshells around that person. So this tension can cause problems with connection and communicating in relationships. So those are some of the things that anxiety brings in a relationship. So, what are the strategies to manage and cope with anxiety? Number one, you have to support your partner. And you only are able to well support your partner if you learn more about anxiety disorder, encourage them to seek treatment, show positive reinforcement of healthy behavior rather than criticizing irrational fear, avoidance, or rituals. Measure progress based on individual improvement, not against some absolute standard. Help set specific goals that are realistic and can be approached one set at a time. So do not assume you know what your partner needs. Ask how you can help. Listen carefully to the response. Acknowledge that you do not understand the experience of a panic attack or other forms of irrational anxiety. So understand that knowing when to be patient and when to push can be challenging. So achieving a proper balance often requires trial and error. So that's supporting your partner. So it is important to manage your stress. So everyone experiences stress, and sometimes the stress can feel overwhelming. So you may be at risk for an anxiety disorder if it feels like you cannot manage the stress, and if the symptoms of your stress interfere with your everyday life or cause you to avoid doing things or seem to be always present. So, coping with stress and anxiety. Learn what causes or triggers your stress and what coping techniques work for you can help reduce your anxiety and improve your daily life. It may take trial and error to discover what works best for you. So, some of the things that you can do so that you stop being overwhelmed with anxieties. Number one, you have to question your thought pattern. So unhelpful thoughts can take root in your mind and distort the severity of the situation. So one way is to challenge your fears. Ask if they are true. So is your thought pattern true? And if so, see whether you can regain control. Number two, you have to practice focused deep breathing. So measured breathing practices can help you manage immediate feeling of anxiety. So try breathing in for 4 counts and breathe out for 4 counts for 5 minutes total. So by evening out breath, you will slow your heart rate, which could help calm you down. So number 3, you can also use aromatherapy. So limited research suggests that aromatherapy can help reduce feelings of anxiety in some settings. Things like essential oil foam, incense, or a candle natural scents like lavender, chamomile can be very soothing. Number 4, you can also do some exercises. So sometimes the best way to stop anxious thoughts is to leave a situation and get moving. So focusing on your body and not on your mind may help relieve your anxiety. So do low impact exercises like walking, yoga, and Tai Chi can help people to reduce stress and manage anxiety symptoms. Getting some quick exercise can help boost your mood and calm your mind. Number 5, you can journal. So writing down what is making you anxious gets it out of your mind and can make it less daunting. Reading your thoughts and feelings can help you take stock of your emotions in the immediate moment. This can also help you better understand the situations and events that cause anxiety. Number 6, we encourage you to try therapy. So different psychotherapies can help you better understand your anxious feelings and develop coping strategies. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy helps people learn different ways of thinking about and reacting to anxiety-causing situations. Number 7, do a daily or routine meditation. While this takes some practice to do successfully, mindful meditation, when done regularly, may eventually help train your brain to manage anxious thoughts when they arise. Number 8, we encourage people to socialize. So although everyone is different and some people experience social anxiety, spending time with friends and family regularly may help you manage your anxiety. Socialization can help relieve stress, encourage feelings of laughter and togetherness, and decrease loneliness. Has shown that social connectedness can help you become more resilient to stress in the long run. We encourage you also, number 9, to stay active, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, staying connected with people who care about you are great ways to stave off anxiety symptoms. Diet and also supplements help. So changing your diet and taking supplements is a long-term strategy. Research shows certain supplements and food can play a positive role as part of broader anxiety treatment. So this includes things like green tea, valerian root, kava, lemon balm, omega-3 fatty acids. So those are some of the herbs that can supplemental herbs that can help with anxiety. So also ask your doctor about medications. If your anxiety is severe enough that your mental health professional believes you would benefit from medication, go for it after you've used your coping mechanisms. Some of the medications that they use, especially if the anxiety is very severe and needs to be interrupted, are benzodiazepines, which are supposed to be used for a very short time period. Be careful with them. They can be very addictive. So they are supposed to be used temporarily as you use other medications that are not addictive to help you with the anxiety. So that is all we have today about anxiety and how the signs, the symptoms, how to manage it through coping mechanisms, therapy, and medication. So tomorrow we are going to wrap up our discussion and we'll be discussing about trauma and substance use disorder and how they affect our relationships. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.